In this video, we're going to talk about some of the things you need to consider as you start to plan a freshman composition class. It's not necessary to have the whole entire semester planned out day to day, but there are some things you need to think about before the semester begins. And those things include how much reading are you going to, outside reading are you going to have the class do, and what those essays might be. How you're going to hold students accountable for their reading, how many essays you'll assign, and what length will they be, how much informal writing do you want students to do, and how much time you're going to set aside for process work. Some writing instructors don't assign outside reading as a part of the course. Peter Elbow, a renowned composition theorist, designs his class in such a way that the student's own writing becomes the reading material for the course. So over the course of the semester, they are writing, revising, and peer reviewing with the goal of creating a writing portfolio at the end of the semester. Other writing instructors assign varying amounts of outside reading as models for the students' writing, as thinking prompts, as raw material, source material for the students' own essays. So if you choose to assign outside readings, you need to think about what those readings will be and how much you want them to read. And I think it has value to design your units, the discussion periods leading up to each essay thematically, because when students are identifying a theme, it gives them some tools to find meaning in what they read, as opposed to just sort of a random sampling of different readings, and students aren't quite sure what they should be looking for or thinking about as they read. There are a lot of textbooks, readers, collections of essays that are available for freshman composition. Some of the best known are The Presence of Others, Literacies, A World of Ideas, and there's just a wide array of them. Bedford St. Martin's, I believe, has some small readers that are organized around particular themes like happiness or sustainability. They have a whole collection of different little thin, inexpensive readers. But this will allow you, even if you accessed just the table of contents for some composition readers online, it would allow you to see some of the themes that composition instructors are using to organize their readings and some of the readings that they are assigning. You also need to think about how you're going to hold students accountable for the reading. I mean, anything can work that illustrates that the students are actually doing the reading. It could be just traditional quizzes. It could be reader responses, reading notes. It could be as simple as calling on students and then keeping a record of whether or not they are able to answer the questions. Some professors just go down the list in their role, and over the course of a few classes, every student gets called on. Some professors have students draw a question out of a bag, and they have to answer that question, and they need to be prepared to answer that question. I personally do reading notes, which are very informal, but they require students to take notes over their reading. I think it helps them develop their reading comprehension. I think it gives them a tool that they can use later on in their education in other classes. I've had students tell me that after they finished freshman comp, they continued to use the practice of taking notes over their reading throughout college, and it really did help them improve as readers and improve as students. So that's what I tend to do in my freshman composition classes. I have included Here is an image, a sample of just really basic reading notes that I do with the essays in my freshman composition class. They can do narrative responses to this, paragraphs, or they can do bullet points. It only takes me a minute to look at each one, maybe not even that long, and give them credit for it or no credit. I do it on a 1 to 10 point scale. But they have to do this complete reading notes over everything that they read, and that's the way that I have chosen to hold them accountable. So then we also need to think about essays, and how many essays and the length of those will depend on a number of factors. The university may have requirements, some common syllabus that identifies the number of essays or the number of pages that they want students to write in a freshman comp course. The length of your semester may help determine how many essays and what length, and the framework of the course. So for instance, in 1301, the first semester of freshman comp, I have them write 3 essays, and then the final essay is a revision of one of the previous essays. But in Comp 2, which is a research class, we're focusing on researched writing, each assignment is leading toward the one main essay of the course, which is the research paper. So they do smaller assignments along the way, including an annotated bibliography, a prospectus or a proposal for their topic, some reader response essays responding to, summarizing the arguments that some of their articles are making. So in terms of a formal lengthy essay, they only have the one research paper. That's the goal of the class. So, understanding the goal, what skills we're developing, and how to develop those skills will determine how many essays students will do in the course of a semester. Informal writing can include things like journals, blogs, planning activities, drafting a part of the paper. It's writing that they're doing, but that isn't being assessed. So it may be writing for the sake of thinking. It may be writing for the sake of writing, to get them warmed up in preparation for the class discussion or whatever. It may be early stage writing in the service of their essay. But thinking about, do you want them to be doing informal writing, especially things like a journal or a blog? I have I use a discussion board in Canvas, and most class days they come in and they write for the first 10 minutes. And the prompt for each day is geared toward the subject matter for that day. So it's inventional thinking, it is reader response, something along those lines related to what we're going to talk about each day. And they pretty quickly get in the habit of just diving in and looking for that prompt and getting started just as a matter of habit. Another thing that you might want to think about is how much in-class time you want to designate for writing the essay. Do you want them to do much of the writing during class, in which case you need to design your class with some course days available for that? Or do you want them to do most of their drafting outside of class and use class time for other content? It doesn't have to be the same for each essay. You may start with the first essay and allow a fair amount of time during class for students to work with while you are there to guide and assist them. And then later in the semester, as they should be developing as writers and becoming more confident in their skills, then you allow them to do more of that work independently and on their own time. the way that they will be writing in most of their college courses is on their own time, outside of class, without the supervision and assistance of an instructor. So at some point, I think it is important to um, help them try to develop that independence where they don't rely on affirmation from an instructor at every single stage of the writing process. Again, it's not necessary to have the whole semester planned. I plan my whole semester at the beginning because of any course, because I need to make sure that I am covering everything and I don't forget anything, and that works well for me. However, I don't always have the lesson plan outlined in advance or the exactly what activity we're going to do. I just know the concept that we're going to deal with on a given day, or the reading that we're going to discuss. And I think finally, you just need to be flexible. Sometimes things work well, and sometimes things look like they should work well, but they really don't. I think keeping a teaching journal, especially the first time you teach, can be really valuable. I think it gives you something to look back on as you make notes of what worked well but needs some tweaking, what didn't work nearly as well as you'd hoped, what you would do differently last time, what ideas popped into your head after the class. Oh, that would have been a great idea. I should have done that. Well, then you've got that stuff recorded somewhere. So keeping a teaching journal can be a really valuable resource for you in the future. And then be prepared to make changes as necessary. These courses are always evolving. I think freshman composition, more than any other course that I teach, is always evolving. Students change, ideas change. You hear about other ideas that professors have that sound really valuable, and you can personalize to your needs in your class. So comp is a living creature. And if we approach it in that way, then I think it is a much more satisfying course to teach.